This isn't a normal environment for an autocar test. In fact, it's downright unusual. But every now and then, we step out of the box. So just what do we have here? It's Caterpillar's 777, and it can move 100 tons of rock. What's it like to drive? Stick around. The truck I've come to drive, Caterpillar's assembled in India 777E, is a real monster. An apartment block on wheels, this just has to be the single most unaerodynamic shape on a vehicle ever. And then what hits you is the size. It literally fills up my field of vision. But of course, as you can see, there's a cliff-sized radiator and behind it all sorts of heat exchangers. Now the engine is a 32-litre V12. It puts out approximately 1,000 horsepower, but it's not the horsepower, it's the torque. 4,700 Nm. And of course, that's needed to haul 100 tons of rocks. Of course, you have these massive tires from MRF, and between the wheels, an 1,100-litre tank. The massive pillar-sized suspension strut uses a combination of nitrogen and oil to take the load. And oh, incidentally, each tire weighs 1.5 tons. Imagine having to change a flat. As the 777E passes us, we hear the massive 32-litre diesel. A blend of the howl from the turbocharger, growl from the exhaust, and whine from that smooth 12-cylinder. It's a unique blend of NASCAR American V8 meets aircraft turbine. It sounds just great. Then reality strikes me. How in hell am I going to manage to drive this monster? Will I be able to handle the massive 6.2 meter width, especially with the steering on the wrong side? What if I brake too hard and get all the weight to tip forward? This actually is terrifying. And then there's the physical act of getting behind the wheel. It's severely disorienting. You need to climb up a ladder and then walk around and then get into the cab. So finally in the cabin of the 777, and to be honest, it does feel like a 777, a Boeing, because I'm sat at probably the same height as you would be in the cockpit of that huge aircraft. Luckily, the Cat isn't complicated to drive, far from it. There are 2 foot brakes, the second emergency brake where you normally have a clutch. But that apart, the process of driving is pretty straightforward. Dealing with the titanic forces involved, and I don't say that with even an iota of exaggeration, is another matter completely. Understandably, my leg is trembling as I get off the brake. So onto the throttle, and finally it feels like I'm driving a 3-floor high building. It really is. It's an indescribable sort of feeling because I don't know where to start turning, and I'm pretty sure that I don't want to go into that lake out there. So I assume this is a sort of good turning radius. I'm gentle on the throttle, I'm off it now, and the 777 is just rolling down. And incredibly, the turning radius, it can almost turn within its own length. So this is pretty unreal for a vehicle of this size. Now, I see another one coming down the mine, so I'm going to wait here for a bit till he passes because I'm a bit too nervous to ride right alongside him like you would on a highway. So it's going to be back on the brakes to stop the monster. Then I set off up a slope and onto the main thoroughfare, or in this case, Ghat Road. As we drive by the guard house, 7 feet below us, I can honestly tell you, I've never driven anything that's this terrifying. I've driven a locomotive, I've driven other large stuffed tanks, but this thing is just on another level, literally. Driving this thing is also all about managing the forces. Remember, this is heavier than a main battle tank. And what's crazy is that all the weight is held up high. I don't even want to think about body roll. So currently we're going up this steep incline of this ghat. The engine's doing around 1600 RPM. We are in 7th gear and the automatic gearbox will decide when to shift up. Right now it's just the sound of the turbos whistling, that massive amount of air going through this 32-litre V12. Just incredible. That 4,757 Newton meters of torque feels just unstoppable. Forget merely towing half a dozen everyday trucks. I'm sure a pair of 777Es could drag the Gateway of India off its moorings and deposit it halfway across town. And every time I tap that accelerator, I can feel the Himalayan torque simply vaporizing the weight of the truck. Finally, after a few minutes, I get to grips with the width of the thing. We just passed another truck on the right and it just feels unreal because this is like 3 vehicles wide, not 2, 3. Of course, when you have tires of this size, it just steamrolls everything. There we go, we've shifted up a gear, and what's helping me drive is this multitude of mirrors. I'm looking at these 4 of them, 5 of them. There's one showing me what's behind, one right in front. Then I come to the end of the wide and slushy path. It's time to take a U-turn. What? Now as I shift from reverse to neutral to drive and then second for better traction, watch how the cab moves as the transmission shifts and locks into gear. Watch this. See that? Alright, here we go. In second, no one's on our side. I'm turning it around. I can hear the hydraulic power steering hissing. No electric steer here. You need that support. And I'm gently putting it back onto the path. As I begin to go quicker, I understand why it's important to be in the right gear. The reason I'm not in D and in second is for better traction. I'm told that if you put it in D, at times over some slushy, mucky surface, it tends to slide. And then controlling this 80-ton monster in a slide will be, I promise you, quite a nightmare. Now to make it easier and more comfortable, I have air conditioning, I have a blower control, I have temperature control, of course hazards, headlights and screen, which to be honest is pretty incredible and quite a surprise. On the way back down the mine, since I'm going a bit quicker now, I get a strange request. Mind the wires, says the guy sitting next to me. What wires, I ask, looking up. And then I see them below me. Now the other thing we need to be really careful of here are these electric wires. Now imagine having to avoid an electric wire with a land-based vehicle. Normally, when you're in an aircraft, when you're flying, you've got to be extremely careful you don't tangle with them. But this thing is so high up, we've got to be careful not to hit that. So we're staying well away from it when there's no one else on this path. Soon, I'm so addicted to this feeling of moving mountains, I keep going. But my drive soon is over. The mine manager is up in arms. Strangely, after a bit of wheel time, the 777E is nowhere near as intimidating as it initially was. And for that, it's all the more impressive. Partly made in India and yours for 3.5 or 4 crores, should you happen to want one. It even has a top speed of 65 kilometers an hour. Think that's slow? Imagine your apartment block doing that speed. What an extreme machine.